Let's bring on my guest to squeeze all of this together for me, including his outlook on the new year, 2026. Ade Adefeko is an ex-officio of the National Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. He is also a public policy analyst. A great Tuesday to you. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Rotu.
Thank you.
Bosun.
That's my colleague, Rotu.
Yes, I've not been with you for a while.
Yeah, it's okay. You haven't seen me. You're missing some of us. I guess so. I guess you're missing some of us.
Yes,
let's start with agriculture, and that's food on the table.
Yes.
For me, let's talk about this. The sector grew 3.79% in the third quarter. In the September, about 24.35% in nominal terms. Do you think the sector is on a rebound?
I think the sector is on a rebound. I mean, we're not dependent anymore on rain-fed agriculture. I think there have been a lot of improvements. We've seen improvements in leaps and bounds because we have gone into the area of technology, and I think government has been very intentional and deliberate and very strategic in the thinking. And they've looked at agriculture now more as a business than as what we used to do before, which is usually on ad hocism. So I think that's very positive. We're doing very well in the area of cassava, cocoa yam, and all the staples. To a large extent, I think we're on a rise, we're on a boom. Are we food sovereign? To a large extent, we are food secure. Food sovereignty is another matter entirely, and that will take a bit of time. I usually speak to the fact that we need to do things in geometric progression rather than arithmetic, and I think the arithmetic is moving to geometric. And I think as we wind down this last days of December, I will remember the song of I'll Be Back in November. But this time around, I will not be back in November to January, February, March, April, May.
Interesting. What are some of the initiatives in this sector in 2025? Are you also seeing investments in that sector that you think will catalyze further growth for the agri sector?
I will speak to one of the very, very few who are playing their game properly. I think that's a company called Olamagri. Olamagri has invested $45 million in setting up what you call a plant for soya bean extraction and soya crush facility. That's somewhere in Ilorin. That's a $45 million investment. You can divide that by 145, which is the 1,450, which is what the exchange rate is right now, which aligns with the optimism again in the financial sector, where we have what we call monetary policy stability, which has been anchored singularly by the central bank governor Cardoso, and I think he's been slow and steady, and the man they fondly call the headmaster has been chaperoning his area very well and sticking to his own game plan. And I think that's a very good one. And again, that again is buttressed by what you call fiscal policy alignment on the part of the Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy. So for a very long time, we're having what you call fiscal and monetary policy alignment. And I think that's good for the economy. So for me, I think I'm not saying that it's Eureka and it's not yet morning on Creation Day, but it's morning yet on Optimism Day. So for me, I think to a large extent, things are working. Things could be better, but I think what I've said at the onset of the show is that we have been strategic, we have been intentional, we have been deliberate. The SID policy has kicked in, and I think it's kicking in well. What we need to do just better is to make sure that we have strategic reserves for long term. Our strategic reserves right now are between 3 and 6 months, which we need to have between 18 and 24 months. That's what serious nations do.
What really makes food inflation or food prices sticky in Nigeria for majority of people?
Well, the problem is that we do have problems of storage on the one hand, and of course, to a large extent, we have production. You know, a lot of the foodstuffs we produce perish because of. I mean, the market is there, but the problem is moving from seed to shelf. So from the seed you have it, but going to the shelf, that production cycle. Post-production or post-harvest losses, as it is, maybe for fresh fruits. So, but I think to a large extent this year, there's been, again, the rains were very, very friendly. The drought was very minimal. And I think the heavens shone on us. And like Sheyi vibes of music will say, it's a story for the gods.
But how are we going to fix this midstream segment of the agri sector where we produce in the upstream and then the midstream seem to draw us back and then the folks can get food at a very cheaper rate considering the vast arable land we have in the country?
I think what we must try and practice properly is what you call farm to fork, and what you have to do is to have an integrated value chain system where the dependabilities are much cohesive, much more aligned, much more integrated. What we have right now are fragmentations where Lagbaja is doing one thing, Tabadi is doing another, and Lakashegbe is watching. So it's a bit of a complex, cul-de-sac. But again, like I said, we've just been in a very lucky country this year, and I think, I don't know, the stars seem to be aligned for the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the extent that everything seems to be working. A very shaky foundation, but right now I think we're making progress. And I think, like I said, we're moving. Prior to now, we're moving arithmetically, now we're moving geometrically. Rice, we're doing well. Wheat, of course, for me, I would tell people that we're not a wheat producing nation. Wheat is for temperate regions, and we're tropical, so we continue to import wheat. Our wheat spend is around about between $10 and $12 billion. That will not change in a long time. We produce around about 500,000 metric tons of wheat. Our total consumption is between 4.55, sometimes 6 million tons of wheat. That's a lot. So, and you see some of these things you can't legislate. So what you must do is to make sure that your comparative advantage is important. You work on your competitiveness, okay? You can only be competitive when you have comparative advantage. And that, I think, is what we have been doing for quite a while, and I think is what we should stick to. Okay. But again, comes in the oil and gas, which is very, very important.
Yeah, I was looking at that sector, and I know it's one sector you look at. It looks like the Dangote refinery was the headline grabber for this year. What do you think?
Headline grabber for the right reasons. Again, energy security, very important, because if you don't have energy security, you can't have food security. If you don't have food security, you can't have national security. So you have a kind of a melange, as the French call it. So it's a potpourri. The three have to be in alignment. And when they're in alignment, they're in constellation. So you have what you call the constellation of the stars. So we're very lucky at this point in time that we have, let's be frank with ourselves. When last did we, in December, or in Yuletide season, that we were not queuing for fuel at some point in time? I can't remember that time. And I think this is the first time in a very long time that this is happening, and I think that's kudos to, maybe it's the right timing again. When the refinery came on board was when the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu too came in. And don't forget that one of the first things he did was he appointed advisors to critical sectors. Olu, I think her name is Olu.
Yes.
Yes, Olu Virgin is the special advisor on energy, and I think she's stuck to her job. Minimal noise making, doing her job. We've moved from 8 rigs now to about 61 rigs.
Yes, rig count.
That's, for goodness sake, rig count is the barometer for measuring exploitation and exploration. Midstream, downstream, upstream, I think we're coasting.
Yeah.
What's our production? During the time of the former administration, we're struggling between 850 and 900 barrels. 900,000 barrels. Right now, I think we're doing between 1.2 and 1.5. That's if you put in condensate. So condensate takes about plus 200 or plus 300. Yeah. So I think for us, and again, don't forget again that a lot of our monies that we had for those barrels were already mortgaged. They've already been,
They've pledged.
Been pledged. Thank you very much. That is the word.
Yes.
They've already been pledged. So right now, all the pledges, all the encumbrances, off. So the money goes straight in the foundation account.
Do you think we have some good news on the upstream sector, oil and gas? What we had to conduct a few days ago, Afrexim Bank signed $750 million with S Energies under Tony Lumelu and do you think more of that will be coming in the new year?
You see, more of that will happen because, of course, we have the petroleum industry bill, because before now, that took almost 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, yes.
So, but right now, for me, I think the liberalization of the oil and gas industry is it's something that we've not seen in a long time. I worked in the oil industry in the 90s, and I remember those days when we used to do what you call turnaround maintenance. Turnaround maintenance basically means you are working on what you call the FCC, which is the fluid catalytic crack unit of the refinery. So the FCC is majorly the problem. When you fix the FCC of a refinery, you are on. But right now, of course, you know what our refineries are faced. Those refineries, for me, should be sold. But again, that's a story for another day. We have a lot of stranded assets, which I think we should work on and generally just decouple and sell. But again, that's government's to do. I'm not government, but I will continue to advise government that government has no business with those refineries. But that's a matter for another day. You have a lot of foreign capital. You are speaking about Afrexim. Afrexim new CEO happens to be an old friend of mine.
Ejembe.
Elombi.
Yes, Elombi
and I were in school together in Cameroon, and somebody who knows what he's doing. For me, he's somebody who's been in that system and understands what needs to be done. What I like again is this transition between Orama and Elombi. So Elombi is focused. He's come up with his address on what he wants to do. So he has his own agenda for his next 5 years. He's come out with a plan of his, and that plan is something that I'm sure he would do to execute.
Yes,
He's a lawyer by training, so he understands how corporate governance works, and is strictly a demand for the season.
So whether it is energy, agriculture, whatever, agro-allied, the banking sector, here we are. The final 100 days now, ending March 31st for the capitalization. What's your take on that program?
For me,
so far?
that will happen because to a large extent, what basically gladdens me is that to a large extent, we were able to fix the exchange rate thing. Okay, the exchange rate has been very stable in the last 6 to 8 months, and that's because, again, don't forget the Bloomberg exchange. The Bloomberg exchange encourages transparency. I have that exchange in my office, so I can see the prices, flows, and that's transparency.
You're looking at the terminal.
Yeah, you're looking at it online on real time. That's one of the best things that can happen to you. It's an expensive piece of asset to acquire and maintain, but hey, what can you do?
No, well, good things cost money.
Good things cost money.
That's it, my friend. That's my friend. So you think the foreign exchanges work this way? Do you think we've achieved so much this year, Cardoso and the rest of his team?
I think Cardoso,
I mean, that impact on businesses. Because if you said Olam is doing $45 million, I'm sure exchange rate is a major function of stability.
Let me quickly speak to one of our sister companies. That's one of Olam's sister companies is Olam Food Ingredients. Olam Food Ingredients is the second largest exporter out of Nigeria. So after Indorama, which does between $450-500 million, another $250 to $350 million comes in from from OFI. That is from cocoa and cashew. So for us, for them, or for us, I'm speaking in my capacity now as an ex-official of NASIMA and the former chairman of the Agri-Trade Committee. So I'm not wearing an Olam cap here, but I have to speak about Olam because Olam is the one who's the good size laying the golden egg. Let's put it that way. But again, don't get me wrong. There are many others who are doing it. The Boas of this world are doing it. The flour mills of this world are doing it. So it's not a one company thing. I think what has happened is that to a large extent we must really commend the president and his administration for providing a level playing field.
Well, so let's finish up on budget.
Yes.
Did you listen to Mr. President a few days ago?
I did.
About the budget?
Yes, I did.
What's your takeaway?
Oh, you see, for me, budgets are what it is.
Deficit, revenue shortfall.
So for me, what we need to do is just to plug those loopholes. My problem with the budget, and has always been the budget, is budget performance. You see, budget performance has always been the problem for me. If you have monies tied to project X or Y a lot, and a lot early enough, don't start allotting in a system whereby you're giving piecemeal. So that's where you have budget performance being very, very... So you have MTEF, which was spoken to. But for me, I think another thing we promise on again is wrong reference benchmarks. So for me, I mean, our benchmarks are always optimistic. Why not be conservative? And if you have something optimistic, you have a surplus. So why do you want to have a deficit?
So for next year, what do you think the oil budget benchmark should be for next year?
Between you and I think we should be as low as possible. I will go for $45 or $50 in my view. So all those estimates that I believe, I don't know how they come. I mean, you and I know we've spoken about this many times. In God I trust, everything's what? Data.
Everything's data.
Data. So I mean, you look at data historically over the period and you say to yourself, what happens? The ebbs and flows of the market.
They're gonna put us back on the machine and see whether it really work out. The budget benchmarks, the exchange rate in terms of
no. But like I was speaking to, like I told you, for the very first time in a very long time, we're having fiscal policy and monetary policy alignment. Before now, it was everyone doing his own show.
The constellation of the stars.
Of the stars, yes. And the stars have constelled and they're saying to themselves, it's not yet morning on creation day. But what do we do?
But we're in the morning.
We're in the morning.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
I will.
And enjoy the rest of the holiday.
And if I don't
thank you so much.
Merry Christmas.
It's okay.